All right, my friends, it's your old pal Jordan the Lion, and today is going to be a fun day and a sad day because today we are departing Ohio, at least for a while. We'll probably actually come back after our leg of, we're going to shoot off, do some vlogs in the east, and I'm not even going to spoil the surprises because we have so many cool things to do. You're just going to have to watch the next upcoming week or two of vlogs. We're going to head out today. Our destination is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Daze with Jordan the Lion and Jaw begins now. So Jaw's along for the trip, but the downside is a lot of the vlogs he won't really be able to participate in because they're either in a museum or it's going to be way too hot outside for him. So you're going to be hanging out in a hotel. You're going to have a staycation for a little bit. Don't worry. Just while I'm vlogging, then I'll be spending all my time with you, right? Goodbye, Ohio. And if you're thinking, oh, your poor grandpa's going to be bored without you. No, he really won't be too bored because today he was going to a Reds game. Yeah, he had good tickets to a Reds day game, so he wasn't going to be there anyway. 93 years old, out there living it up. And since this is my first ever trip to Pittsburgh, my first ever trip to Pennsylvania, I'm going to vlog the thing that I've wanted to see most here, the thing that I, even as a kid, always thought of. Holy cow, we entered West Virginia first. We will eventually get to Pennsylvania, and I'm going to do what I used to think of when I was a kid, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. There, I promised you Pennsylvania. Now go pursue your happiness, because that's their slogan. Welcome to Pennsylvania. Well, we have entered Pittsburgh. Let's go to our first stop of the day. Heading into the Fort Pitt Tunnel. Going over the Birmingham Bridge. So I want to start over here at 2100 Wharton Street because this is the home of Fred Rogers Productions and this awesome statue of a dinosaur with Fred Rogers classic sweater and shoes, as well as King Friday and the rest of the family in the neighborhood of make-believe. How cool is that? So Mr. Rogers dedicated his entire life to basically children's education, and all of those things that we saw in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, all of the sets and the puppets and everything, they have it all in a museum here in town, and I'm going to take us there now. If you like bridges, this is your town. And here it is. We won't be doing the sports museum part today, so look, they even have the uprights here. Nope, we won't be doing that, not today. But we have arrived. If you're wondering, that goalpost is from the old Three River Stadium. Pretty cool. Ever since I found out that this display was here, I've been wanting to make this my first stop, and we finally get to do it. I mean, first stop, if I ever came to Pittsburgh, this was where I was coming, so we're here. And that sign tells me that I am not mistaken. Welcome back to our neighborhood. We miss you, Fred. So of course, if it's named after John Hines, it's because of the ketchup. But we're going to the 4th floor where Mr. Rogers' exhibit is. And they said they actually have 5 floors worth of exhibits to check out here. So to find it, she said look for the rocking chairs, which are down here at the end of this. And that will be where you find Mr. Rogers. I see rocking chairs. Because this is the Special Collections exhibit. Here's a Bantam Speedster right before we see the tree and Mr. Rogers over there. Now the beauty of Mr. Rogers was that he believed that, you know, everyone was special, you didn't need to change, you could be loved being you, and he taught great lessons, wrote songs, and created a world of make-believe that kids could basically submerge themselves in. He was never in the neighborhood of make-believe. He would always send the trolley, of course, and there are all of his puppets. Now his story, it's pretty cool, is you can see where he would have popped those little puppets out right here from the little doors, was that he was originally going to the seminary. He was going to be a minister, and found out about television, like actually saw television for the first time, and didn't like what was on TV, but he said, you know what, this could be used as a great learning tool, and that's what he did. So he used cheap sets and puppets, and the puppets only came because he was originally using free movies, free educational movies for an early version of his show before PBS, and sometimes the film would break because the film was all brittle, and so he started doing the puppets whenever the film would break. I can't believe we're actually looking at the real set with the shoes, his real shoes, in that case. He would always come in and basically put on his play clothes, leaving the real world behind and entering Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, change his sweater in the closet, and this is the exact set, the exact doors. And you gotta remember, you're like, God, that is out of date. Well, he started in the 50s, so some of the educational things that he would end up having to teach kids were about the JFK assassination, ending segregation. He would take on all those topics. There's his bicycle, that is awesome. All the things that are in the show. He was actually the voice of all of the characters, all of them, all the puppets that he did all those voices, and they were different people that he knew. Lady Elaine Fairchild, you can see up here, or they were based off of him. Like when he would be Daniel the Tiger, his wife said that was always pretty much Fred. And as I said, he composed all the songs that he would sing for the show, including the theme song. And of course, like I said, he would teach kids a little bit of everything. Teach them gardening, just life lessons. And there would always be some sort of, there's Harriet Cowell's desk, some sort of moral to make you a better person in the end. You can see the early black and white days of him changing the sweater. He was truly the good guy. He was the guy you just couldn't help but love because he was authentic. He never was involved in any scandals. He was never, living out anything that he didn't preach or teach on his show. And his wife said he always, he never stepped over his beliefs, his religious beliefs. Those are always in the forefront of all of his teachings. And there was a time where PBS was developed to help educate, have an educational television show, and they were going to defund it, and he went and spoke on behalf of PBS and actually read his own song lyrics that he wrote about teaching children. And when he was done, the senator said, "Mr. Rogers, you just got yourself $20 million. Now look at this. They have the land of make-believe for the neighborhood. There's King Friday right there. So of course the trolley would have come through here. And there's King Friday right there. King Friday the 13th. And his kid said if he ever had anything he wanted to talk to them about, like at the dinner table, and he didn't want to be confrontational as their father, because they said he was kind of to us. I mean, he was like the closest thing to Jesus, you know, that the world kind of knew. And he said that was a lot for us to like live up to. But he said if he ever wanted to discipline them or talk to them about something, he would always go into one of the character voices. And there's one of his signature green sweaters. It says here that no episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood would have ever been complete without the sweater. At the beginning of every show, Mr. Rogers, singing his signature song, Won't You Be My Neighbor, would go into his closet, take out a cardigan sweater and some comfortable sneakers and put them on. At the end of the show, he reversed the ritual. Most of the sweaters, including this one, were hand knit by his mother. The first episode of Mr. Rogers had a button-up sweater, but he soon switched to zippers after he missed a button while filming. And he was very close to his family. I remember he said that he had like every disease or sickness as a kid that you could have. So that's where a lot of his whole world came from. Like this whole land of make-believe was him being in quarantine in his room and using his knees as like little mountain ranges for people to walk over, and he created this whole world. Pretty cool. And he said that the song, Won't You Be My Neighbor, he said, I wrote that as an invitation. I wanted every time that it came on for each kid to know that I was inviting you into my neighborhood. Oh, look at that. He would have actors on the show, but usually when it went to the neighborhood of make-believe, when the trolley left and we went to the puppets and everything, that's where you would see an actor, maybe sometimes with a kid, and they were teaching the lesson in there. Take a look here. Some of his most memorable puppets. Daniel the Tiger. That was the one that Mr. Rogers really would use as like the everyday kid, what he thought that the everyday child would worry about. Daniel was the character that would basically ask those questions that kids could relate to. Here you can see how the whole set would have been laid out. Castle over here, and the tree is over there. So cool to see the actual tree right here. Where's the owl? And then right here they have a whole array of his clothing. So let's go take a look at that. It says, as human beings, our jobs in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is. That each of us has something that no one else has or ever will have. Something inside us that is unique, all to our own, all the time. It's our job to encourage each other to discover that uniqueness and to provide ways of developing its expression. So it says that is Mr. Rogers' Banana Republic suit right there. And it says Liz Claiborne pants, tie, and Dr. Scholl's dress shoes. Classic. And there we've got a zip-up cardigan, hand-knit sweater, of course, made by his mom. Very close to his mother. He would quote his mother's teachings and things that she brought him up on a lot. And here's a police jacket. That's Officer Clemens' police jacket from the show. Now what's interesting about Officer Clemens is that when they were trying to, you know, desegregate schools and everything in the public pools, there was a guy who like started throwing cleaning agent into his pool to get African Americans to leave the pool. So Mr. Rogers did the episode where he had Officer Clemens come over and offered to share his foot bucket so that he could get relief for his sweaty feet. And that was his way of dealing with the issues of the day. Comes in and he says, it's got to be hot out there, would you like to share my bucket? And yeah, just a nice little gesture. There's some of his ties and bow ties. And that orange one actually has his name on the tie. Let's see, it says Fred Rogers in the design. Now there you can see some of Mr. Rogers' shoes. And what that actually says, it's his initials, FMR, Fred McFeely Rogers. So that's where he got the name Mr. McFeely. And the guy who played Mr. McFeely was actually somebody on the crew. And one day Fred said, you know what, you have acting experience, don't you? You've done stuff before. How about we make you the delivery man on the show? And you can always bring the packages to the show. That's how it all happened. Don Brockett was the man who chef monogrammed these shoes for Fred. It says, one of the talents hired by Fred for the show, Don became a respected actor in regional theater and television. And then that blue shirt on the right, it says that according to a note that came with this shirt, Fred Rogers wore it when he taped interior segments of the show and for interviews. And the black shirt over here says that he wore this shirt and others like it behind the scenes operating the puppets and the characters in the neighborhood of make-believe. Fred also wore the sneakers because they made less noise when performing his tasks. Makes sense. So here you can actually see there's a Mr. Rogers themed ecclesiastical stole. Like I said, he was on his way to being a minister and someone made that for him. He had a divinity degree from Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, but he saw his television show as a ministry. This stole is a visible representation of his dual role as minister and television personality, made by his aunt Alberta Rogers. You can see all the characters on there. Even putting his shoes on there. There's the trolley. There's Daniel. There's his teller overcoat and monogrammed scarf with his initials right there. Fred McFeely Rogers. So this college sweater here is for Rollins College. It said that Fred transferred from Dartmouth to Rollins College in Florida to pursue a music degree. While there, he fell in love with fellow music major Joanne Bird. Joanne and Fred bonded over their shared values and sense of humor. While at Rollins, Fred began to work on some of his musical compositions that later became classics on Mr. Rogers. And he did marry her. He married Joanne. And she said that they had a very similar childhood where they were never allowed to be, either one of them were ever allowed to show anger in their houses. So that was one of the things that Mr. Rogers would always teach, was that it's okay to be angry. Now back there, you can see a green bathrobe, a plaid bathrobe. Let's see if I can get a little bit better focus back there for you. Now it says journalist Tom Janad's introduction to Fred Rogers set the tone for the relationship and for the article he wrote on Fred for Esquire magazine. As Tom recalled, Fred greeted him at the entrance to his New York City apartment building in his bathrobe and socks with this big smile on his face. He recounted Fred's ability to never directly answer a single question and to keep him off balance. But he found the aching child in all people. Their relationship is now chronicled in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which makes its theater debut November 2019, which it already did. That was the Tom Hanks movie. And a crazy thing about Mr. Rogers is that he always weighed 143 his entire adult life because of the Bible. He liked 143. Now here right in front of us you can see that jumpsuit. It says this was what he wore when he got home. He would often put on a jumpsuit to run errands or walk around the neighborhood. His son Jim recounted in the book The Good Neighbor that Fred's clothes ran the gamut from understated elegance to jumpsuits. They were zip up in varying odd colors because he was colorblind and he couldn't really tell. His other son John also remembered that Fred would wear a dress shirt, turtleneck with a suit jacket, or a jumpsuit, but neither remembered him wearing his signature cardigans ever at home. What a collection. Thank you so much, Rogers family, for loaning this stuff out and making it available to all the fans. I just had to come back and look at some of this stuff. The detail is kind of what I've been taking in now. Just noting, you know, that it was like cheap sets and stuff. You can see how some of it's starting to ripple and fall apart and get a little, show the age of all those years of creating great television. Even all the way at the bottom you can see the chipped up paint and things like that. Things you never see on camera. And I'm just now noticing the shingling on the side of the house. You just want him to walk right through that door. Those old curtains. The old trolley picture over here. So cool to see where he would have walked and where he would have sat and put those shoes on. I just can't believe it. I finally got my 4-year-old wish. I'm finally in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I hate to say this in front of Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was actually the first bit of turmoil in my house when I was a kid, because my sister and I would fight over the TV. 4 o'clock, she wanted to watch the Brady Bunch reruns, and I wanted to watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, so even though he was trying to teach us good lessons, it accidentally caused a lot of friction there for about a year. There's the Book of Smiles. Alright, Mr. Rogers, thank you for everything. I happen to know that there's one other thing here in Pittsburgh that pays homage to you, and we can't finish up this vlog without going. We'll go back and get John, take him with us. Watch this. Same door. Same door. Watch this. When he closes the door, it's the same door. I know we all know that, but we gotta see it. Look behind him. Boom. Goodbye, Mr. Rogers. And as we walk out of here, I kind of want to see if you can see behind it a little bit. Yeah, you can a little bit. Behind the scenes of Mr. Rogers. Behind the tree. And look here on this dinosaur, they have all kinds of historical and memorable people from this area, including Gene Kelly, and of course, oh my gosh, that's what we didn't see. I said I thought we had seen everything that I wanted to see. We didn't see the trolley. Where's the neighborhood trolley at? That's probably at the Smithsonian in Washington, I bet. And of course Andy Warhol, but that's also for another vlog. I'm definitely gonna have to come back here because 5 floors of stuff is just too much for anyone, and there's a whole vlog waiting to be made here on Heinz and the foundation of an empire. Pickles, relish, ketchup, they did it all. This is a really great museum. I looked around pretty much every floor, but I only vlogged the Mr. Rogers stuff. It's worth coming back for. You are very welcome, Smithsonian. And the gift shop has quite a bit of Mr. Rogers stuff. Kindness Zone. The trolley shirt, that's great. I know it says age 3, but I know a recently 40-year-old that's going to be buying this today. Here's the Andy Warhol Bridge. Thought we could walk this one, but it's actually over the bridge, so we're taking a ride. But Jaw came along too. Look, there's where the Pirates play, PNC Park. All right, Jaw, we'll follow you. Take us to Mr. Rogers. He's right over here, just sitting there, waiting for us. Oh, and they've got audio of him talking, coming from the speakers up in here. See, you can even get up there in his arms. That is a wonderful statue. That is really, really great. John, come up here and see Mr. Rogers. That is such a great depiction. Right here overlooking the water. So right here you'll see that they're honoring Mr. Rogers and a woman named Cordelia May. It says here that Cordelia and Fred were good friends, lifelong friends, and Fred often talked about Cordy, her generosity as a philanthropist, and her concern for the environment and the arts. When Fred died, Cordelia May chose to honor her friend with a statue by one of Fred's favorite sculptors, Robert Burks. This tribute to children serves as a symbol of friendship between two humanitarians and a lasting statement about the importance of children in our society. Well, I'm not able to get up there in his arms because no matter where I put the camera with the tripod, we get blacked out in the photo. So we'll just call it an end of the vlog here. Big fan of Mr. Rogers, and I'm glad we got to do this today. Thank you, Fee Massey, for becoming my newest Patreon. Thank you for Jaw for coming with me. And thank you for Mr. Rogers for always letting me be your neighbor. Have a great night and goodbye.